So I wanted to talk about the first time that I actually tried mushrooms, because I've always been talking about the specific strong experiences that I've had, but I've never told you guys about what happened in the beginning and what my experiences were like when I first started versus what they are now. So I kind of wanted to just lay out how everything changed and basically what happened in the beginning and stuff like that. So I'll start from the first time that I ever tried it. And I should say that the first time that I tried it was at like 2 grams, and this was actually at school because I bought it from a friend at school. And I only experienced like just waving grass and stuff like that, and definitely body load. And I attribute this to the fact that I didn't lemon tech it, because I find that if I don't lemon tech it, then I basically don't trip. Like, I've taken like 4 grams and didn't lemon tech it, and I barely had an experience. So I learned that after, I think it was the second time, that once I lemon tech it, the experience opens for me, and I can actually have like vivid closed-eyed visuals and hallucinations and stuff like that. So yeah, the first time I only experienced just wavy stuff, so I wouldn't call that the first time. For the second time, I would consider that to be my first, because that's when I actually had a real experience and not just the beginning stages of it, like a level 1. So I would call this experience like a level 2 or a level 3. And this time I took 2.5 grams and I lemon teched it, and I ground it to a powder and everything. So at first I experienced like the body load, and this was a lot stronger than the first time that I tried it, because obviously it was more and it hit me more. So by then everything was getting wavy and started to get dreamlike. And I remember I was looking at a screensaver, like it was a Windows screensaver that I used to have, and they don't have these ones anymore because it was an older version of Windows, but they were really very dreamlike and trippy backgrounds. And I remember looking at these things, and it would literally come to life. Like, everything was moving and animating and shit like that. And it was just like, I don't actually have those kinds of vivid, open-eyed visuals where things come to life like that anymore. Like, I find it's a little more internally for me. But it might just be where I am in my life at the moment. So, on that second trip, I actually started to draw my closed-eyed visuals because I was actually having them at this point. And it's interesting that these closed-eyed visuals were different than how they are now, just because I feel like the window that I have now, it wasn't really open back then, so it was still sort of establishing its representation and how it presents itself. So it's definitely, what I drew was definitely a precursor to what I experience now, but it's interesting to see how it develops from the beginning stages, because I would consider these more hypnagogia type hallucinations, so just like very, very vivid closed-eyed visuals that don't really have a theme, but are just very wacky. So I have the drawings here, but I'll blow them up so that they're bigger so you can see them. So what's interesting about these is that, like, you can see a lot of really, really expressive stuff. Like, I didn't used to draw things like this. Like, I didn't have the ability, but I was just trying to memorize what I was seeing in my head and trying to recreate it. And like, it would come up with a lot of weird imagery, like very, very exaggerated faces, like the guy that looks like a bullet that's exploding. I thought that was really interesting that I did something like that, and I really liked the bunny that I drew, because it was like an evil bunny with a knife that was eating itself, so his jaw was like eating its body, and there was a lot of weird thoughts that come with the first time from tripping that I don't think I experienced now, but it's funny how the beginning happened, and this just seems like weird cartoony craziness, and the pig that looks really crazy and I guess drunk. But after that, I had a few other experiences, and most of the drawings that I made, I was drawing at school. I think it was 12th grade, maybe the beginning of 12th grade. And the next one that I drew, I noticed that it's starting to get more visionary type expressions. It's more kind of like Alex Gray inspired stuff, and I begin to see how my visions and stuff is like morphing into something different. And so this is the next one that I drew. And then in school, when I was having more experiences, it started to become more tribal and more visionary in its expression. And I also drew this one as a bit of an expansion on the first one that I drew. You can see that it's like it has the old type of characters that I was seeing, but just in a more tribal and visionary type style, so it's really coming together in that way. And then by the time I had my level 5 experience, it became what I think my art is now. And the kind of expression that I sort of keep now, that I sort of try to recreate and sort of build on. I think the yellow picture that I drew also really captures that essence, because I really like that one. I thought it flowed really nicely. But so you can see how I think how it was expanding and how it was growing, the art, and then the art became almost similar to a lot of the stuff that you see in other visionary artwork. So the idea that I got from this is that somehow I was getting deeper into the collective unconscious, and as I was getting deeper into that, the visions and visionary states were starting to get very similar to everyone else's. So you can see it start to get tribal and start to get all these motifs that are very strange and alien, but also clown-like. And so I think the beginning experience had all the precursors to what I experience now, but it's very interesting to sort of lay it out with my drawings to see how exactly it evolved into what it is now. And I wanted to see if other people have a similar sort of evolution in their visuals. Like, do other people have a sort of evolution in what they experience? And then by the time that evolution is complete, it just becomes like Alex Gray type hyperspace imagery. Hopefully you found that sort of interesting. Personally, I think it's pretty interesting how it expands like that. So I thought it would be a good idea to sort of share that, to show you guys exactly how it expanded it and evolved and became what it is now for me. So I will see you guys later.